Alright, we are back. Alright, so it looks like something happened with the Wi-Fi. So, we are back. Nothing happened. Just making sure everything's still back online. So, got everybody on live stream. We're unmuted. Coolio. And this is moving. Alright, cool. That was weird. It was like an energy came through. The whole Wi-Fi thing went down for a second, then it came back on. So, we're live. All right, moving forward. So, what we were getting into, what we were talking about, I'm not actually sure how long that actually took place. I hope y'all were live for the rest of that part that I finished. So, moving forward, anyways. So, today we're going to get into more about, PTSD. Definitely today has been, or actually not just today, it's like this whole week has been really, really expansive for me. Definitely, I've done a lot of investigation and definitely in-depth work with Mom and the Angels, and definitely uncovering a lot of things within myself and thus for the collective energy for everybody. A lot about PTSD and just understanding the energy and its nature and just how to really unwind that from the body and get that to start moving in that process. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Really, really exciting things because I love this kind of stuff. Anytime I find something new or I make a new breakthrough, I start discovering new things. I get really in my Scorpio detective side and I start really gunning for it. I really love it. So, basically this started off a couple days ago, basically where I made a connection. Arkea Aurora, sister. So basically, a lot of you have probably seen them on live streams before. So me and Aurora had a conversation. It was about PTSD. And I don't know why it took till now, at this point, 29 years into my life, to finally make this connection with myself, because I've lived around it my whole entire life. Coming to this understanding is that pretty much the majority of my life, pretty much been in that state, right? And that is, we're not really getting into the details because I've shared that on many other different platforms and moments before about my life story, my life journey, and just what I've been through growing up. But however, with this one fundamental fact, this, the PTSD, understanding that I have been in this PTSD literally for over 20 years nonstop without even realizing it for the most of it. Until literally just this point a couple days ago, that this has been an overlapping energy that's constantly, been out of my sight for some reason. And as I tracked myself back through these last couple days and just did these massive dives with the angels and uncovering a lot of things within my behavior and what's going on, and just connecting a lot of dots, not really understanding why different moments occurred, why you feel a certain way, or why this occurred, and like that, just really letting it go and moving forward. Not realizing I was actually accumulating all this information, all this in-depth insight on things that by themselves didn't really mean anything. But together, as it kept accumulating more and more and more as moments went on, I was building a bigger picture for myself, right? So as I was talking to my sister Aurora, and she was like mentioning and expressing about it, and I was like, yeah, everybody has PTSD. For whatever reason, for some reason, I had this energy that just would not accept, did not want to seem weak, did not want to seem, like I had some kind of flaw, just wanted to stay as far away from that for a reason, right? And so for whatever reason, when we had this conversation, I was open enough for that word to cause a trigger point, to set off, right? So at that point, of course, the thoughts started spiraling, and I knew there was something to it because, it wouldn't cause such a reaction in the energy system unless it was pinging off something that was already inside, right? So this gave me awareness, like, all right, something's going on. So later on that night and into the next day, I was sitting there pondering. And I think I feel I shared it with y'all that morning that it happened. It was like 2 a.m. in the morning. I was like, all right, angels, if I have PTSD, I was like, where's it at? And I went on a ride. For the last 3 days, I have gone on a ride through the entire internal part of the human anatomy system of the body. And I have mapped and I have discovered where this PTSD energy literally routes itself within the human vessel from point A all the way to Z, and what areas in the body it actually affects and why it causes so many openings to open up for us to fall into lower frequencies and these different ego traps of manipulation and deception because we're already primed for it, because we're already in the fight or flight state. But let alone the PTSD is not just the fight or flight state is not, let's stop right here in this moment. The fight and flight state, that state, that trigger in the brain, that's one specific thing. Let alone being in that state continuously, right? You can go to a state of fight or flight in a moment and then come out of it. You can get jumpy over something and then realize there's something to be afraid of. And you're like, okay, cool, that scared me for a moment. You can go into fight or flight for a second and come out. Now, PTSD and going through a very massive traumatic experience, something that's more of a continuous experience or something that's gone on for a short, very impactful experience or a very long-term, very drastic experience. Either way, that's very different, right? So just understanding all these different forms of energy, and as the angels were basically schooling me through this class as I understood, and I was just going through my body and going through these transformations and releasing things and seeing clearly after it was moved, and it was just like, wow, it was crazy. And the first thing definitely I want to point out too is like with the PTSD, and then I want to say that pretty much majority of this population, this planet has some level of PTSD. Okay, this planet has been so far in dysfunction. Like most of the population has been gaslit, been suppressed, been traumatized and abused, and just really enslaved in all kinds of different ways. So when you talk about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and understanding what stress actually does to the body, not only short range, but also long-term wise. What stress continuously, nonstop on the physical body will start to cause to the physical body over moments, okay? Big backbone to a lot of the body's deterioration and a lot of people's experiences, whether you have cancer, whether you have some kind of whatever the issue is, a lot of that's backing it is that energy. So the stress, just super hard everybody. So everybody likes to watch movies, right? Okay, so we watch a movie. Most of the time, on an average basis, when you watch a movie, people, they have these different ranges in their life, different fluctuations. They go through a high, they go through a low. There's a climax, there's a plot, there's this and that, point A, point E, point B. But you can admit to yourself that there's different scenery, there's different change going on, right? So for someone that is in PTSD and stuck in that, things don't change. Right? There might be glimpses of something peeking through, a moment of rest, a moment of peace, a moment of clarity maybe, but then the rest of the time it's this high intense, driving, jackhammer force energy that's just completely making all the senses in the body heighten and raise, right? And this is very confusing because as I've been unraveling all the things in my experience, and this will make sense for a lot of you too, who have been, through the pharmaceutical system. Those of you who have been diagnosed with different things, have taken, psychiatric or behavioral medications and things like that in your life, this will make a lot of more sense to you. Is with all the PTSD and as we grow up, where my experience fell off, where I haven't made the connection till just now, is because of how far in the beginning this actually occurred and started for me. And so from the very beginning, probably around I feel 3 to 5 years old is when that all started to go downhill. And then by the time I was at 5th grade in elementary school, that's already when, the institutionalization started. That was for a year and a half to 2 years. Then it went to all these different medication stuff. And even while I was in there was all kinds of things they were injecting me with and stuff. And it was a very, very traumatic experience for a child to go through. And meanwhile, going forward, coming out of that experience and also going through the rest of those years all the way to senior year in high school before I finally rebelled and said no more. I refused to take medications and things. At that point, all that duration and the medications that we're taking and how it affects the brain chemistry, what's going on in your body, what your body perceives, what's actually going on, what you actually are aware of. That's the kicker point. When you start shutting things off, when you start delaying certain processes or suppressing certain things within the body, you're actually not only doing that, but you're also delaying and blocking out your internal awareness, your insight about yourself, what's going on. And you can miss things very easily. So since this started so early on in my life as a child, and then immediately went into medications and things before I could even develop a consciousness or an ability to really truly understand what was going on in a higher consciousness way, you know, everything was already suppressed. By the time I started getting to that age, everything had already been suppressed for years. The medications and things that I had already been taking were already, dimming down the feeling centers, the consciousness, like changing my mood, suppressing everything, making everything dim. And so at this point, like I've uncovered that, this why it never occurred to me, because to me, at a certain point, it seemed like I wasn't freaking out all the time. I wasn't spinning and just constantly like agitated all the time. No, not really. So then it kept these big blocks, these gaps in my life to where I could not place the pieces back together because I was missing something, right? There was a very pinnacle piece to all this of why all these still were relevant, but they just didn't fit together just yet. That's how I felt for most of my life. It's a very agitating space to be in where it's like you can be so aware, but yet there's just something you're missing. You're not getting how these things actually fit. And so like I made that massive discovery the other day and I was like, holy shit. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. You know how many times I've heard the word PTSD and it just never clicked in place? So those one of those things you gotta let go and just realize that it just wasn't time for it. It wasn't that moment for the activation, the healing process, the release, and the realization, the recognition of what's occurring to happen for you. So again, gotta let it go. But definitely so very grateful and appreciative of the amount of work that I've done the last couple of days, and I'm definitely going to get into writing that down and dictating that. But it's so amazing how it maps to the system, and definitely. So I'll go back to what I was getting to. It was with PTSD. The first thing I noticed with that, with what it affects with the human energetic system is definitely with the right eye. Absolutely one of the first things I perceive is definitely this massive lightning bolt energy, and basically it circulates underneath the right eye, on the right side, goes all the way up into the brow, and then it shoots back in the massive bolt of energy straight over the the right brain. And the right hemisphere of the brain is actually the feminine side. It's the feminine part of the brain. It's the abstract, creative. It's the part that connects to source, to the etheric, and channels the etheric energy. So that massive energy overlapping over the brain in that area, coming all the way back to the back part, right here in the back of the brain. This is where the cerebellum is, okay? So this is what controls motor ability, motor skills within the physical body, okay? And this is also what overloads itself when we go into control, okay? When you go into so much control, you feel how like tense and tight your body feels and how just like restricted you feel and rigid. It's like that's what's happening is you're going in so much control that energy is backfiring up your neck into the back part of this brain right here. And it's overloading the cerebellum part of the brain to where now the part of your brain that controls your motor skills and the fluidity that you have now is overloaded. So you're literally going to have this very rigid, tight, like kind of behavior going on with your body, not really be flexible. Things don't really, bend and move as they did before. That's what happens, okay? And so there's just this energy that goes over the right part of the brain all the way to the back part and overloads the cerebellum, this also is where we hold fantasy at too, okay? This is where the energy of fantasy is held at. And so where one of the first things that energy is part of is higher perspective. And so basically expressing to you that PTSD definitely has, following the energetic map, if you follow me, the right eye, the external, being able to see externally out into life, but having that block and that filter there from the PTSD and that very high surge of fear, anxiety, and stress, it is a block and a filter from you seeing a higher, positive, enthusiastic perspective, right? It constantly forces you to see all the lower. You're always aware of the lower. You're always aware of all the things you're afraid of and that you're worried about, that you're stressed about, you're always attuned, and you're just like very like a pin dropping in the room. You're like freaking like alert, of course, right? But you can't see the higher though, so you're just locked into that dynamic, into that self-fulfilling prophecy basically of your fears being realized, because you can't see any other outcome. You can't see a positive outcome because of that block and filter there. So as this energy circulates down the back part of the neck and moves into the left shoulder now too, the massive part of the PTSD is betrayal. The moment we are hurt in life, the moment we obtain a suffering, we immediately go into blame, and feeling like we have been betrayed by something or someone. It's a deep energy, right? Because of our stress, right? Before we were happy, before we were in a better state. Now we're in PTSD. We weren't in PTSD before. So that feeling of something happened and you have been stolen from, and now you cannot get peace back. You cannot find your peace anymore. You're stressed. You're full of anxiety. You're overwhelmed. You're pent up. You're tense. You are about to explode. Where's your peace at, right? It's such a feeling deep of betrayal. Something has been stolen from you. You had peace before. You had fun moments before. Things felt good before. Now everything's ruined. Everything is a mess, right? Such a deep feeling of betrayal. You don't really know who to blame it on or who's going to hold accountability for that, but you feel betrayed, definitely. So the energy circulates definitely down again into the collarbone right here on the left side with all the belief systems. So that's the internal part of your belief system. So with the self, your internal belief systems about what is going on, what you will accept, what you won't accept, what you will allow, what you're gonna completely be resistant to. And as I say, that energy shoots down from, and again, this is nothing sexual, this is all energy, right? Everything's energy. And so the left nipple, the nipples in both, the nipples represent a lot to do with the nurturing, okay? So whenever there has anything to do with energy in that area or conflicts in that area, it has a lot to do with probably lack of nurturing, lack of really even the intention of that, or even holding space for the nurturing energy to come in, okay? And so since that belief system now is very deep and it crosses over, the left nipple, the deep internal nurturing of yourself, you're basically, the PTSD is a big bypass to that. We block off ourselves. It's like we're traumatized and everything. PTSD is like we don't have time to sit down and have a spa day and relax and be at peace and have a freaking, Starbucks Frappuccino. Like, no, we need things to do. We need to distract ourselves. We need to be focused on something so we don't go insane because we're not okay, right? And so that's what's going on, is it completely bypasses the self-nurturing internally straight into the solar plexus. And then there's an internal war going on now within the self. All this constant static energy and noise and just heightened intensity and hyper-awareness, even for no reason, but just constant waves smacking into you. Always got to be alert, always got to be aware, always got to be on time. What's going on? What's got this? What is that? Are they talking about it? What is it? Always like this constant panic energy of what is going on? Something happening. Is it because of me or is something to me? It's like, that's that energy where it never gives you the rest or the peace or the clarity, or to be able to feel like you can sit with yourself, let alone other people, and be in the same space and not be overridden, right? Because the PTSD is unique, especially because we're all sensitive beings, right? And as we move higher and higher in these energies, we're going to become more sensitive and deeper feeling. So one of the biggest ways this PTSD energy hijacks humanity is because as we become more sensitive, PTSD is hijacking the emotional center in the body and also through the feeling centers. It's completely surging and flooding it with all these lower frequencies of fear and anxiety and stress and panic, despair. All these different things are just completely circulating from this core energy of PTSD. And it maps, before I go too far, it maps back around to the back side of that left shoulder as well, into the shoulder blade, and a lot with that shoulder blade with, spiritual expansion the wing, of the deep feminine energy, allowing that expression, the internal intuition and the internal feeling to come forward and actually reflect and give space to receive, to allow the change and the growth and the transformation to begin. That, again, that massive block to that is because when you're in that state of fight or flight and that PTSD, it's like everything becomes a game of like, what's going to get me first type thing. It's kind of like the energy. It's like you got your running shoes on and you're moving it and you're not planning on stopping it, right? Because everything seems like an altercation, like a threat or something's going on, right? And so like definitely mapping out this whole thing too and going forward, it drops down to the left kidney where we hold on to the attachments. Again, this is where the PTSD hides a lot part of itself because the cellular memory, again, especially in the kidneys, hold on to what we are attached to, what we have not finished processing, what we have kind of stalled on, what we've halted the process on, what we've gotten a little bit or halfway through, and then we reached a point where we're just like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not going to go through this. I'm not going to keep going. I'm not going to keep transforming. That's what that would be like, to where it gets locked into the kidney and it doesn't get moved through the body into the release point. So it gets stalled, right? And so then after so much energy gets built up, there's only so much space there. So the only place for it to go now is back up the channel where it came in at. So then we start having backfires of energy up into the system, going backwards where it's not supposed to be going in our bodies. And this is where the PTSD energy gets to a certain point over moments, months, years. After it builds up to its volume point, it starts to overspill. And now there's always so much that's been fueled up inside of you that's a constant spurt of inertia whenever. It's almost like gaslighting yourself without even knowing that when it's coming. And literally it's the energy that you've accumulated, but you can't access it to release it now, right? Because so much disassociation has happened, so much externalization, trying to make it seem like it's okay, go buy a new car, get a new house, find a new girlfriend, do whatever, it's like doing whatever you can to change, the experience, to try to hide that there's an issue, that you're not okay, that you're not feeling okay, that there's something wrong, right? And definitely this is where a lot of people like to have, the deep stress and all that, it pushes you after so many moments of dealing with that, especially this is where, again, everybody's innocent, everyone having compassion for all of humanity. This is where you get to people having, being bombers, people that go into schools and shoot up, schools and literally kill people and stuff. This is how you get to that point, okay? With PTSD, it's like, it's not really a joking matter. It's not even funny. Like, it's serious. This energy definitely, it's a slow poison that will ultimately build up to corrupting and festering the entire soul within a person. After a soul cannot gain peace at all for long moments, it starts to become corrupted. It starts to waver, right? And that's, of course, part of the, the plan of the cabal, which is to disturb the population, disturb humanity so much, bomb them with wars, with pandemics, with different things, social media attacks and different phobias and symptoms and all these different things, and break humanity down, right? And break their hope, break their faith. Making this a very possibility after sustaining so much suppression, after sustaining so many blowbacks to our evolution, moving forward, things are finally getting better. Oh, nope. Countries are at war. Oh, well, the president did this. Or like, oh, somebody did this in the country. Or somebody did this to the children. It's like never really getting ahead. It's like gaslighting. It's like the collective's under so much tension and pressure, right? But then everyone's so good at being superficial. And because the collective is already so good at being superficial, being on the surface and not really being reflective or internal, it allows so much to build under the surface without anybody's awareness that is actually there. That is what's occurring. That is what's already occurred to this point. So now, as this energy is now reaching to its final climate points, wherever it's going, we are about to really set off in a really big way, people. Absolutely. I channeled some things earlier. I'm just going to share them with you guys. I'm going to go back in later on, probably tonight, and get more on it. But I felt it was pretty interesting stuff to share with you guys about a lot of what we've been talking about, the girls and their live streams, and just the things that have been occurring so far within the last couple of weeks for us all. So basically, I was talking to the angels and they were sharing. So they start off with the date of November 4th. So we all know the November 4th. I need to drink some water first. So before we even get into that. Before we get into November 4th, so we already know that's the new moon in Scorpio. So it's going to be a powerful launching pad for the other portal, the big one that we have on November 11th that's coming up as well. But the angels actually also shared that was the last call. Okay, so November 4th is going to be a very strong, energetic day. So definitely probably going to feel a lot of pressure tomorrow. Probably going to start feeling it tonight as that energy for the new moon comes in. So the last call, so this energy is going to definitely kick up the tone. It's going to get everything set up for the final push is what they will share. November 5th, the day following that, is what they shared was formalities. So it's definitely going to feel like a day of preparation. Getting things moved around, getting it set for the next moments to come, because there's a lot coming. And so we're going to need some moments to kind of collect ourselves from this long voyage that we just made through the first half of Scorpio season, everything that's come up before that and has been purged and come up on the surface. And now that it's starting to clear, we're starting to get that little ground moment to pause. All right, breathe, check yourself. Are you good? Pat yourself on the back. All right, we're going to move forward now. Get ready, right? This is that moment. That's going to be on November 5th for formalities. So once we get to November 6th, that is when that energy starts to smack into us, very heavy, right? So that's for where the collective grief is going to massively get triggered. Whatever hasn't been let go of, get ready. That grief core is going to come up and explode for the collective. And it's all set in tone for very important events that are coming for us all in the physical experience as well. So, moving forward, November 9th, okay? They were sharing that, at first they said, get out. And I was like, get out? I was like, what do you mean, get out? I was kind of starting to get disturbed. Like, we just talked about PTSD angels, and now you're talking about, get out. I was like, come on, I was like, they probably did it on purpose to trigger me, but anyways, moving forward. So they were like, get out. I was like, all right. And then they continue, they're like, the collective is going asunder, so, and asunder for everyone, it basically kind of like, it's a meaning of like into pieces. It's like, definitely dispersing, or something is about to, occur that's going to be a very explosive, very huge, expansive event or experience for the collective. And then they shared further that it was the beginning of the tipping point, the collective trigger. So whatever all that is, not really go further into that now. I'll tap into that later. And then they were sharing excuse me, there's been so much like mucus and stuff like releasing my body. Thank you, Mom. By the end of November, beginning of December, Trump will be making a big move, they shared. And then it was interesting. I started seeing strong, solid beams of rainbow light. They were like bridges, but they came straight down. They didn't come at a slant. They weren't arches or anything like that. They were like literally like straight, like teleportation, like spaceship, starship beams to beam you up. And they came down, but they were rainbow, like full on rainbow scale, different colors of the rainbow in each beam. And I saw one at first, and then a bunch of them started dropping down from the clouds after that. It was really, really amazing. So got a bunch of light ups for that. And then they said November 28th. So they were sharing around that time is what they said was what they were calling the closing call. So basically they were sharing that all souls will be charged for activation. And by this time, all beings exiting the planet will be queued for when that window date for the soul will be. So that is occurring around that time frame. And then they shared, and again, this is all present moment. So don't attach to any of this. This can all change. It may not, it could very much happen. We just let it all go and we just trust and wait to see, right? So December 14th to 17th, they shared, get ready. Santa is coming to town, they shared. Angels are playing Santa is coming to town. They were playing the song to me as they were talking about that part. And then by the end of December, they shared the collective will grasp on some level, the entire collective they were sharing, all of humanity, on some level will grasp, on some level, that as we move into the year 2022, we are walking forward into a new time, quote unquote. So lots of key energetic events to be set in place and moved forward into motion during that time to break us into 2022 with a very powerful bang. So that definitely was just a little bit of what I got earlier. I'm going to go back further and get more with the council and talk more with them later. But yeah, definitely get ready, folks. And like I shared, definitely the Scorpio season is, moving the collective through the different 3 phases of the Scorpio sign. So moving from the Scorpio to the ego to the Phoenix, and taking the collective through the entire death and rebirth process of the self. It's going to be massively powerful and definitely going to clear a lot of things for everyone, because we've never gone through a Scorpio season, particularly like this one before. So this is definitely going to have a different result for the collective as well. So definitely get ready. Just keep embracing, keep allowing the transformation, the healing process as we move forward. Keep having faith and opening yourself up more and more, being vulnerable. That is the key to doing this. And definitely just allow yourself to move through this with a flow. Okay, there's no force, there's no race, there's no stressing out or flipping out or anything. Remain in the flow and allow yourself just to flow through. I can't even tell y'all, I'm just amazed. Like, literally these last couple of days have been such a transformation for me. Just like me being in this calm state, literally, and just how much my body has changed going through these different stages of transformations. It's like a different, completely everything's different. I can't even describe to you how different everything feels and the experience is right now. So definitely there's still way more work to do, definitely more to go. So I feel probably I'll do a master class or something like this for it at some point soon, to help everybody out and help everyone understand more in depth, and maybe there'll be an activation or something in there. I don't know shit. So we'll wait and see. But definitely, I want to pull a card, animal card for everybody before we get too close to the end point of today. All right. Coolio. Oh yeah, there's this. I think I shared it with you guys when it happened 2 days ago. It was whenever the moon was in Virgo, and it was something had happened. So it was 2:00 in the morning, and I was up and about and around, but I happened to be sitting on the bed at this time, and this is right when I was talking to the angels and mom and moving through my energetic system, finding out, and I was like, okay, look, show me if I have PTSD and stuff. And when that energy was moving through, at one point I literally had basically a seizure. It was pretty crazy and gnarly. So it was very interesting. Basically I watched, and I guess I've seen enough and gone through enough to where it wasn't something that would freak me out. I was oh my god, it's scream or something. No, so I basically just watched my body go through it in the bed. I was I literally sat there and I basically had an upper torso seizure basically. And so what had happened was basically my whole left arm, basically the muscles and everything constricted. And so my whole arm came in onto my chest, and it pulled down into basically almost my elbow was pressing into my stomach basically. And it was held there. I could not move it for moments. It was pretty gnarly and crazy. But basically I was watching, and I was actually watching where the energy was circulating through my energetic system to allow and cause that to occur. And I was basically just watching an energy movie within my body occur as the experience was happening, because I trusted. I totally had faith and trusted. I was well, mom would never let anything bad happen to me. This isn't the end. If this is the way I go at this point, I was this is kind of a lame way to go out 2:00 in the morning. Nobody's even around. I don't feel that this is the end for me. So I was all right, cool. I guess I was just really chill with it. I just watched and observed the whole seizure thing happen. And I don't feel I've ever had a seizure. Well, I had seizures in the institute, but that's a whole other story. But this is different. So as this occurred, basically I was watching the different parts of the body, the anatomy, and where the energy was circulating through the system and causing the body to seize up. And for you to have this kind of energy, for you to have enough energy to cause the body to literally take on its own motion basically and move itself without your own intention, that's a lot of energy are already accumulated, right? So for me in that awareness, I knew I had to locate where the energy is going at, right? So this is where I followed it through and found out where the PTSD actually maps out through the body. And so definitely we're going to do more work on that later and definitely express about that, but it's powerful awareness, and definitely will help you connect a lot of gaps in your experience. And once your awareness is on it, once you understand what is happening in your experience, you can get it and things immediately shift. The whole part about the continual loops in the broken records is because a lot of times there's holes in the awareness. No, you're not really seeing the whole picture. You haven't caught on to something yet, so you just need to have the full awareness, and then boom, like everything else you have been aware of that you have connected with will automatically come together at that point and you'll move forward, right? So a lot of it is just like that missing piece, and once you have that, you're empowered, you can move forward and expand. So that's the ultimate goal and intention here. So just gonna get a card for everybody, a little animal card. Yeah, that actually might be a cool masterclass to do probably by the end of November, maybe. It might be a cool masterclass to do, or maybe December, I don't know. We'll look into it. So, let's see. All right, so it's going to be card number 45. So it's going to be the Parrot Spirit. So watch your words. Beautiful. Ooh. So 45. All right, so 45, Parrot Spirit. Watch your words. What are you saying to yourself? What message are you repeating? Is it something that makes you feel good about yourself and reminds you of your strengths and potential? Parrots mimic the sounds around them, and when Parrot Spirit appears, it is time to be more heartful of your self-talk and its qualities. What do you say to others? Are you repeating what you truly believe? Remembering to speak with light and love can become a habit. Be generous with compliments and thanks, affirming all that is good so that your loving, healing words will be heard throughout the jungle, cutting through the noise and inspiring others. Listen for the words that remind you of all the strength, abundance, and joy in your life and in the world around you, and then repeat them, affirming what is real, true, and nurturing to the soul. The universe will reflect back to you the story you tell. Words matter, so choose ones that lift you up and inspire others to remember that beauty surrounds us. Are you aware of what you're saying to yourself and others? Parrot Spirit shows up as a reminder to heed the words that flow from your mouth, your pen, and your keyboard. Be heartful of the beliefs you have internalized. Are they what you choose to believe? Are you communicating with integrity? Parrot Spirit wants you to listen to what you say and your motives for saying it. Right speech is called for now, which means you are called to reflect on the beliefs that you have been parroted by people so often that you simply accepted them unquestioningly. Journal about what you truly believe and wish to see in the world and in your life. Write words affirming what you value, speak them aloud, expressing gratitude for what is just coming into being. Your voice is power, and you can change the conversation in your heart and in the world around you. Parrots represent the law of praise, so you are called to speak the truth and speak with love. Yippee! All right. Oh man, where did the unicorn card go? Oh, no unicorn today. I think that's somewhere else. But anyways, so what is up with the comments? All right, we got Casey, we got Katie, we got Jason Davis, we got Missy, we got Brendan, we got Jenna, Tanya, we got Nelly, we pronounce Quintero. Quintero, yes, that's how we pronounce that. Quintero. We got Nairi, we got Krista, we got Jordan Love, Pascal, I feel that's how you pronounce the name, Pascal. We got Hanny, or Han, or either Han or Hanny. I'm sorry. I'm really horrible with names, just so everyone knows. So this is not anything personal. And then we got Anna Oliver, and then we got Jason over on Telegram, Destiny, Lizuka, Jamesy, Follow the Loop. We got Anna Ray, Dominique, and Luna. So, love you all. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Definitely get ready for... I'm just going to read this comment real quick that I saw while I was scrolling through. Okay, cool. Yeah, so tomorrow is going to be the new moon in Scorpio. So definitely, if you guys have done ceremonies before, just a quick tip on that. So when we do prayers and we do ceremonies, okay, we don't do rituals, 1. 2, two, when we go to the prayers and ceremonies, we don't focus on the things that are problems or what we consider lower experiences in our life. We focus on everything that we are grateful for, everything we hope to push in a higher way, higher perspectives, the positive things in life. That's what we write down on that paper, okay? This is a little bit of a misfire with the collective, not really understanding how this process works. And a lot of it has to come from religion with indoctrinating humanity and teaching them the wrong way to use their own divinity, basically. And so when we pray and when we do ceremonies, the whole focusing on all the problems and everything that's going wrong in your life, God already knows, okay? And honestly, if you ask yourself, when's the last time you spent moments with your angels, with God, or even asking anything in a prayer or a ceremony, they're very far and few in between, right? Let's be real. So let's not use those very small, very rare moments that you actually do sit down and take the moments to actually communicate with God and the angels, to use those moments to complain when that's all you've been doing the entire time, right? And so God's already had the phone off the hook. She already knows. She's been listening the whole time, all the way through. So you definitely don't have to take out the time to go make a formal event proposal to God and be like, look at my issues, and she's already aware. So in these moments, we use these moments to empower ourselves, to hold space for things that we hope to grow, to be positive in, to cherish, to love, and to support what we choose to support going forward. You're not going to support dysfunction, so don't focus on that when you're doing the prayer or the ceremony, okay? We focus on the things that we wish to move forward and expand and support forward. So that's just a little tip for everybody. Definitely we focus on, a lot of times, gratitude ceremonies. So just basically, dear God and dear angels, dear creation, thank you for, and just write down all these things that you are grateful for in your life, and just make it about that. And there can be a million things you can write about in life, but let's just stick it to what we're grateful for. And then, go through, you can burn it, you can, put in a river or whatever like that, or however you feel to, get rid of the ceremony though. But we burn ours, safely, with responsibility. But that's definitely a powerful form of release and also manifestation as well. And gratitude is one of the highest frequencies as well. So using that frequency, focusing on that frequency and channeling that and doing a ceremony in that way or a prayer in that way is a very powerful way to allow more energy to come through, to manifest with, and also push things forward and to also clear as well. So again, you have simple ways of leveling up all moments at all times. You just got to be willing to choose them and willing to put yourself forward and apply it, okay? So I love all of you beautiful folks. Take care of yourself tonight. We will see you all tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Time for morning live stream with Buddha and Jerry. There will be a podcast tonight. I definitely got up this morning. I tried to do the podcast. There was something crazy going on this morning where literally I woke up and I was awake. I was sitting in bed. I was awake and I feel like I went to move and it was out. And then I woke up a second time and it was still really early in the morning. It was dark outside. And then the TV was on, and then like it was something weird. I think I was going through a layer of the PTSD or something like that was coming up and clearing because it was weird. I didn't open my eyes. I could hear the TV still on, and then I was like, the people in the house, they're sleeping. The TV is on. I was like, I literally ripped my blanket off, like wildly looking for the remote. And I was like going crazy, and then I found it. I turned off the TV, and it was like such a panic energy. I was like, why am I freaking out about that? I was like, what's going on? And so like I laid back down to calm down from that just happened, and then I knocked out again. So then I never made it to the podcast thing. So I will be doing that tonight. I guess this morning and last night was just a lot of crazy energies that we're still purging, and from what I'm already going through and processing. So it is what it is. Whatever is highest, and I go with the flow. So thank you all for your support and love. I love every single last one of you, and definitely encourage every one of you to keep pushing yourselves. Apply yourselves, and again, new moon tomorrow. We talked about alchemy, ceremony, prayer, that's alchemy. That's working with amplified energies. You don't have a new moon every day, so definitely on that day, push more to get more out of the experience. Get it? It's kind of like, so anyways, I hope you get it. I love you all. Take care of yourself. We'll be back tomorrow morning, and I will be back tomorrow evening. So take care of yourself. Mwah! Love you. I